You're listening to Mentoring Developers. Can you tell us something about some of the struggles that you went through, or maybe some of your friends went through as you were starting your career in software development? You're trying to be known, trying to perform, trying to go up the ranks. Did you struggle at all?
There is a lot to learn. I feel like that's even more true today. That just now recently learning Angular 2, right? So I've been doing Angular JS for 2 years, and now almost 20 years into this, I'm learning Angular 2, and I'm just like, this is a lot to learn just to get like a basic Hello World application, right? So you got to learn about ES6, you got to learn about modules, you got to learn about JSPM, you got to learn about TypeScript, you got to learn about all this stuff. And so that has been true to varying degrees throughout my career. So in the beginning, there's just so much that you need to learn to even be remotely productive, or at least that's how it seems. I've found it to be much more beneficial when you join an existing project where they've already taken care of the scaffolding, they've taken care of the getting up and running, and they basically surround you with a bunch of code, and then they give you a blank, empty spot in the code base, and they say, here, fill this in. Right? Here's a specific problem to solve. Just find the API and the syntax, and just figure out how to solve this particular problem. Don't worry about the rest of that stuff. We'll take care of that stuff, right? And so to have a team that's helping you kind of focus your energy and not have to learn everything just to get anything done, but just focus that energy and focus that learning and learn kind of one step at a time. That has been kind of that was a really good thing for me, and I also try to do that for my folks as well. But I mean, as a junior going into it, I spent so much time. I would go home. Now at night, I still spend so much time at night. Right, as we first started talking in the beginning, I come home and I'm spending 2, 3, 4 hours a night playing around, but not because I have to, but just because I love it. In the beginning, I was coming home after 8 hours a day and spending that 2, 3, 4 hours a night really learning, catching up. Open up the laptop and VPNing in and fixing that code that I had messed up that day because I had no idea what I was doing. One of the best stories I have about starting out and not knowing everything and it being a big problem was I was working on a BizTalk project way early on, and BizTalk is this pipeline of things. One thing happens which leads into another thing, and it's a big gigantic. It's not a framework. It's far beyond a framework. So just to start up this system, it takes like a minute or two to like get it going, right? And I was involved in a pretty long pipeline. So the pipeline itself would take a couple minutes to run. And I was at the end of a project, crunch time, deadline coming up, and I was working on the last part of this really long process. And so to debug this, you had to start up the whole process and wait for it to start, wait for BizTalk to start up, wait for my whole pipeline to run and everything. And I get to the end and just to find out that, oh yeah, that one tweak that I made didn't work. So, all right, kill it, make another one character tweak, start it again, right? And wait another 5 minutes. And it was just killing me. Today, I would say that's insane. That's ridiculous because I know about unit testing. I know about TDD. I know about breaking problems down into, smaller parts. And today I would have approached that problem incredibly differently. And so the point of that story is not BizTalk. It's not all that. It is just I didn't have the right approach to the problem. I didn't know what the right approach to the problem. I literally had no idea that this kind of approach even exists. It didn't even cross my mind to, hey, let's break this big problem down into smaller problems, right? And just a concept as simple as that. Forget about TDD. I mean, today I would use TDD and it would be so much better, but forget about TDD. Just this simple concept of just breaking a bigger problem down into smaller problems and solving it one chunk at a time, right? Those are the things that I wish I had known as a junior developer, as somebody just coming in. And honestly, even that problem in particular, that issue in particular, that story in particular, if I had just reached out and asked somebody, asked the mid-level, asked a senior dev, do you have a better way to do this? This seems like it's taken a long time. You have a better way to do this? Anybody around me, I know for a fact, literally any one of my teammates around me, if I'd asked them that question, they would have had a better way. Right. But I never asked the question. I kept to myself. I was a little too ashamed to admit that I didn't know. And I was really ashamed that I was so far behind on this project and I was missing my deadline and, it was stressful and everything. And so,
But you survived.
I absolutely survived, and I'm so much better for it now. The funniest thing to me about that story is it was like 8-10 years later when I started learning about TDD and solid and all these principles. I know I'm throwing out all these acronyms and I'm not going to define them. Frankly, it doesn't matter. When I learned about these better ways of doing things, it was 10 years later that I actually learned. And then I saw that story in a whole new perspective. Until then, I was just ashamed that I had missed my deadline so badly. But then when I found out about these different approaches, I actually realized why I had missed my deadline and how I could have hit it. With the same level of knowledge. I didn't need better knowledge about BizTalk. I just needed to approach the problem differently.
Absolutely. Right? Thank you so much for listening.
For show notes and transcripts, visit us at mentoringdevelopers.com.